Hi friend, Jeremy Tank here, and if you are watching this, I am your brand guy. What does that mean? That means if you have questions about building your brand, if you have questions about branding in general, what is it and why is it good for you? If you have questions about some marketing, I am the person that is here to help you figure some of this crap out. Because in this day and age, it is kind of crappy, and it's something we all need to be thinking about on at least some scale, whether you are self-employed or working for somebody else. Thinking about your brand and what you bring to the world can help the people that I help, coaches, consultants, alternative medicine providers can help you guys. I know I've been talking with a lot of people who are just trying to get ahead in their job, trying to be perceived as more helpful and more insightful and be taken more seriously in the positions that they're in. So the stuff that I'm talking about for you is all about your brand. And in this case, that would be a personal brand, what you do and who you are and what you bring to the world. Because the more that people see that and recognize you for the amazing person that you are, hopefully the better you get paid, the more position, authority you have in life, the more influence you have over others. I mean, that's sort of the point. When you build your business, when you build your career, when you build your entrepreneurship, you're trying to influence a bunch of other people to buy your stuff, to align with you, to do all the things that you want to do and you want to have in your life, right? That's the point of any of this, is to make sure you start living the life that you want. So how do you do that? Well, you start with learning the tools that actually influence others. And that is branding. That is defining your brand and branding. Branding coming from the old thought of marking cows with red hot irons until your name or your initials are marked in them so nobody else can steal that cow. And should someone find that cow on the market somewhere, they would look at that meat and go, that is tasty. What is the sign? What is the brand? Where did it come from? That's where kind of the branding idea is. So this week we are talking about design because I have a master's degree in design. I have an undergrad degree in design. I understand design on a level that I don't think a lot of people do, because design is not graphic design. Design is not graphic anything. It's not websites. It's not logos. It's not any of that stuff. Every single thing in your life has been designed by someone. Every single book, every single page that you've read, a writer is a designer of words. They choose the words that make you do something and draw something out of you. A cup has to be designed before it can be built. A building is designed by an architect and a team of people generally to figure out if that architect made something that can stand up. So it's vetted by a lot of people. Every single thing around us in society today, including the government, including your employer or yourself or the banking system, all of it has been designed somewhere, and all of it has been set in systems so that it continues forward. So when I'm talking about design this week, I'm talking about a lot more than just the little bits and pieces, but these bits and pieces count. And they matter, because if you can understand the point of the pieces and you start to use them, to manipulate them, to address them and become fluent in their language, then you gain the power of the tools. And when you gain the power of the tools, you can approach a situation, a room, anything with much more impact, because you can start... you do start to see how the tools are being used by those around you, sometimes unconsciously. Sometimes people gain these tools, and just by being who they are and how they've grown up and what they've had influenced in them. So what tools am I talking about? Well, in the last video earlier this week, I talked about the elements of design, and elements of design being visual design, but not necessarily. So those elements are line, shape, form, color, texture, value, space. And honestly, you can apply that to architecture. You can apply that to food design, gustatory design. If you're one of those people that work in like McDonald's test kitchen, these things actually have play in your work. Auditory design, absolutely. The design of silence is just as important as the design of sound, knowing when to have each. So today, I want to take those, so those are your basic tools that you can mix and match. Those are your fundamental levels of what you have to work with and how you see the world and how you approach the world. And more that you can see those different aspects, line, shape, form, color, texture, value, space, the more that you see those in the world around you, or you start to identify people like me. Oh, I'm a highly colorful guy. I'm very textured. I'm just personality-wise, there's lots of different things I know about and lots of different things I like to share. You know other people like that in your life. You know other people like that who are full of color, who are full of vibrance. That's, we usually call them vibrant people or energetic people. This is color in personality and feelings. And it goes through to everything we know and how we shape ourselves, how we form ourselves. Gee, line, shape, form. These words have meaning and they have context. And when we embrace them on a subconscious level, we start to become them. So what do we do with these elements? What do we do as we start to look at our lives and what we're doing with them? Well, the point of design is to really solve a problem or solve a question. Architects are, trying to solve the question of what should this building be? Graphic designers are often trying to solve a question like, what should this website look like? What should this logo look like? But it goes so far beyond that, because branding is really about what should it look like in terms of how it makes you feel and what you understand about who you are and your place in the world. And how do you stand out when so many other people out there, their logos look alike, their websites look alike, everything they do looks alike. When you hold them up in a crowd, they look like every single one of the other people there, right? That's when you start to go, okay, our systems, our processes are a little too dumb. We need to use our tools a little bit more with our imagination and our creativity to brand ourselves, to use these tools, line, shape, form, color, texture, value, space, to create us and who we are and the personality that we are, to bring that into the world. And the more that we bring that vibrant, vivacious, gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, amazing, spectacular you into the world, the more that people really recognize it and resonate with it. And I don't know if you've heard this before, but energy and life and all of this stuff, they're the same thing. And when you have this energy and this vivaciousness, you attract other people into your life that have this energy, that have the passion, the verve, the joie de vivre, that really pull things together. So what does that look like? Okay, this is where we use the principles of design, and we look at the tools of design, the elements of design that I've given you, and we say, okay, here's how we put them together in meaningful ways. Now, in a previous video last week or the week before, I shared with you guys the elements of influence. And some of those are like, I'm just blanking out right now, so forgive me. If you read Cialdini's Marketing Influence, that book is all about behaviors that influence other people, and so social currency, testimonials. That's what it is. It's using other social proof. It's social proof from other people that you know what you're talking about and you're good at doing that. That is influence. But how do you get to that point? Well, if you share with people the elements of who you are, the forms of who you are, the color of who you are, the value of who you are, the space within and around you of who you are, you have to have some principles to guide that. And what is a principle in this context? A principle is simply a guideline or a measuring stick to look at the different tools, the elements of design, and how they fit together. And the principles of design are unity, balance, emphasis, scale, and similarity. And here's the thing about all of those. They bear a little bit of resemblance to the Gestalt psychology, the Gestalt school, in comparing and contrasting elements within what you're doing. And there's a reason for that, because a fundamental way that the brain functions is through contrast, through comparing, by creating a distinction between two separate things. So let's go step by step through these principles of design, and I will show you how it really is based in that fundamental function of the brain that makes all of this stuff work. So the first one is unity. Unity can also be thought of as harmony, right? If you hear sounds that sound harmonious, then they all kind of flow together. And music in general, a single song has a lot of stuff that flows together, and sometimes it could be elements that don't seem to fit, but the artist, the designer, the person who puts it all together creates a harmony within it, like a rhythm, a funk, something that carries it forward. But what that means is that to understand that harmony, you have to have a base, you or the listener has to have a base understanding of what not that harmony is, so they can bring all the different pieces together and find a unifying factor within it. And this is one of the strong proponents of propaganda, because propaganda has two forms. Propaganda is us and them, harmony or disunity. And it really requires you to put on, or to take off your thinking cap and just go with whatever someone is presented in that sort of harmony, or that sort of propaganda, because it's either us or them, right? That's what propaganda is all about, creating a division in the unity. So the next one, just jump on to the next one. The next one is balance. And in balance, there is symmetrical balance and asymmetrical balance primarily. There's also radial balance, which is like circle, 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 circle going inward. But again, to understand balance in general, balance is two sides or more of a scale, like doing this sort of thing. Open hands. Doing this sort of thing, right? If something is out of balance, it looks like this. And then our brain is comparing which one is heavier, which one is more impactful, which one is better or worse. We are forming judgments and putting that out there in order to define and share our view of something. You can have balance in your office if everyone is emotionally secure and emotionally intelligent and looking out for others' feelings and trying to build communication and equity, equality of feeling amongst the crowd. That's a good balance of emotion within a corporation or a business. Otherwise, you could have managers who are extremely selfish and not caring, and workers that constantly have high turnover. That would be a misbalance in the emotional quotient of that office. Now, culture is a big part of brand, because the brand as a whole looks and says, here's how we want people to feel while working for us. Here's how we want people to feel while dealing with our service, while dealing with our products. And here's how we support them to reinforce those values. So again, value being an element of design, what is the value that is brought to the business, to the customer, to the employee? And it turns out when employees are given value of themselves in a business, they perform better. Why? Because they stop judging, contrasting, comparing the world around them, the way that they think life should be, and they start just appreciating and going all in with their business, meaning supporting customers even more. So this idea of balance, internally, externally, in a corporation, in a brand, is huge, but it really is driven by the contrast of what we believe versus what we accept as the reality we see, and embracing the value within that. The next one is emphasis, and emphasis is, okay, I'm not going to be able to say it enough. All of these are based in contrast, based in the way that the brain perceives, because all of these, unity, balance, emphasis, scale, and similarity, these are all storytelling ideas, and it's only when you see them. Emphasis means that something is bigger, something is more bold, something is taking priority. When we lay things out in a graphic design layout, like a headline for an ad, let me see here. We would have a big old headline right here. Why? Because first, it's at the top, so it has emphasis. It is the biggest thing, so it would have emphasis. It has dominance. We create hierarchy. What happens when we create hierarchy is we actually say to the person non-verbally through just symbols and cues, read this, and then this, and then this. Look at the logo here. Click the button over here. It guides people. It directs people. The book, Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug, it says that this is a fundamental action of the way that our brains process data. We don't want to think. We actually want to do the minimal amount of thinking. Laziness is evolutionarily where our body and our brain wants to be. Thinking, intensely thinking burns a lot of calories. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that their laziness, their not willingness to get up and do the thing, in fact, even just the brain sitting and spinning but not actually taking action, is a way for the brain to assert its dominance, its emphasis in our life, by not putting us into spaces where we are less comfortable, where we burn more calories, where we don't know an outcome, where it is less opportune to do things. And emphasis is really just helping the viewer, helping the reader, telling them point blank, here's what you do next, so that they don't have to think. It is the ultimate act of service to create emphasis, to create dominance, to create contrast between what is most important, what is next important, what is after that. Notice I'm going big, medium, small, because these sorts of ideas are emphasis, are dominance. It helps guide people by providing very, very clear instructions. You are providing a high level of service for anybody that works with you, whether that's your boss, your customers, your audience. It doesn't matter. When you help people by being exceptionally clear, by creating emphasis, dominance, hierarchy, structure, a system, processes, you are actually helping everyone around you understand you from the outside in, because they don't live in your head. They don't hear all the thoughts that are in your head. They don't hear all the crazy things that are going on. But maybe they need to. Maybe you need to share some of that. Maybe you need to use your out loud voice or put it down on paper, and that is where emphasis takes place. It's creating the system, creating the dominance, creating one step, and then step two, and then step three. Emphasis. The next one is scale and proportion. So here's a fun thing, because scale and proportion, we can typically understand these in terms of visuals more easily. And that's just because a huge percentage of the global population is visually oriented. And we can just do a quick little example here of proportion. Big hand. See? Big hand. Little hand. Big hand. Little hand. That's just simple proportion through the lens of this camera. And again, it's based on your mind, your senses detecting the difference between the two and making a judgment. And obviously, when you look at a screen like this, you're thinking, oh, well, one is closer to the screen, the other is further away from the screen. Absolutely. So what we're saying is that in two-dimensional space, a shift in scale, a shift in proportion, gives you the influence, the concept of depth. The same thing happens in typography. The same thing happens in video. The same thing happens in storytelling. If someone has a large part of a story, they become the focus of that story. They become the protagonist, or maybe the hermit, the mentor, the teacher, the guide, somebody who's there to help along. But that person doesn't hold as much sway as the protagonist. Or possibly that person doesn't have as much sway as the antagonist, the person working against the protagonist, or in opposition to the protagonist, the main person. I'm thinking through the hero's journey, the classic Star Wars kind of Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of story structure here that generally has a protagonist and an antagonist, and a hermit or an old wizard that helps them along the way. And scale and proportion in storytelling works the same way. The emphasis that you get on each character creates the scale. You notice I'm using the principles of design to discuss literature now. I mean, this is the thought. Design does not mean visual, does not mean any of these feels. Design is how you think about something. And if we're thinking about a story structure and we're creating a harmony of all our different, okay, I'm going to side note for just a moment, because I just started thinking about Aragon. If you've read Aragon, it's an interesting story about a boy and his dragon. An interesting story about a boy and his dragon going on a journey. But really, Aragon is the first is A New Hope. Star Wars A New Hope. Like, hands down. Like, this is the default hero's journey. And then they've got a desert that is named after the Hatterack Desert, that is basically a ripoff of Dune. And there's so many different elements of this story that are pulled from creative influences all across literature, But Paolini takes those because he knows what he's doing with the story. So he designs the story. He not only designs the story, he designs it to go 3 or 4 books long. And they get more and more intense and more in depth as they go, because as a writer, he matures and starts to understand the influence he's having with the choices he's making. But all of these separate influences, if you look at them and you pull them apart individually, they are very discordant, but he unites them. He creates a harmony within the story structure, and then he creates the balance of good and evil. He creates a balance of guilt. He creates a balance of motivation. He brings in Brahm, the old Obi-Wan Kenobi type character, and he puts an emphasis there. He actually creates an emotional emphasis with that character, so Aragorn feels even more driven to move forward in that. We are given constant reinforcement of the scale, the proportion of the land through the journeys that Aragorn is taking from one place to another. And again, this is all literature here. This is just thought patterns and designing them using the principles of design. The last principle of design is similarity. So how much are things alike and how much are things different? This is literally the rule of contrast. How much are things the same and different? And none of the principles of design would work without this one. This is foundational. This is foundational for all of design. This is foundational for all of thought. How much are things the similar or how much are things dissimilar? The brain doesn't operate in the past, and the brain doesn't operate in the future. The brain operates right now in the present. But just from the inputs, the sound that I hear, the light that I feel, that I see in my eyes, the things that I taste, the dryness in my throat after talking through this whole time, all of those senses are just right now. And the brain would not know how to move me forward or take the next steps if not for the idea that I have memories, I have experiences that I have experienced in seconds past, minutes past, hours past, years past. And those experiences give me insight into ideas, concepts that are familiar to me, as well as ideas and concepts that are unfamiliar to me. And my brain's job is to move me towards the things I want through the idea of familiarity, things I've mastered, things that I feel good at, while staying away from the things that are unfamiliar. My brain doesn't want me to dig into too many things that are unfamiliar. Remember I said laziness actually is helpful to us, right? Laziness means I don't get into things that are unfamiliar. I don't get into things that could harm me. I don't get into things I don't know about. And this is a huge detriment to people because in our life today, we don't have tigers hiding around every bush. We don't have elephants ready to stampede us in the city. I'm outside Seattle. There are no elephants ready to stampede. There are no tigers. There are no, well, I can't say there are no bears, but I mean, I'm not likely to run into a bear. I did see a bald eagle that tried to swoop on me the other day. A little disconcerting. Those are big birds. But in general, my mind creates the path that I'm on and creates the sensations that I am feeling based on every influence before, comparing them and contrasting them and helping guide me. I can't read the future, but my brain thinks for me. My brain and my mind work together. These are two different things. I'll get into that in another video. My brain and my mind work together to choose a path that is most opportune, that it believes will bring me to the path that I want, to the life that I want, to everything that I need and I know, while comparing to my past. And that's what it uses as a guide to move me forward. Now, here's the problem. We don't know what we don't know, which makes it really hard. When we get stuck sometimes, we don't know what we don't know. We don't understand what the brain hasn't ever actually been exposed to. So taking the next step for your brand, taking the next step for your business, sometimes you feel stuck and you just don't know what to do. And in those instances, honestly, this is the crazy thing, just do anything. If listen to somebody's advice, doubt it, don't feel great about it, feel very nervous, feel anxious, and then do it. Because action creates clarity. Without the action, your brain, your system, your processing doesn't know if that is good or bad. There is only doing and learning. There's a huge thing about, fail often, fail early, failure is learning. Well, there's only doing and learning in life. And the more that you do, the more that you learn. So I'm suggesting you just take action. Just take action and go for things. Build a brand, start a business, do things that are fun, that are exciting for your life, do things you haven't done before, because it makes you scared, because it makes you nervous, because if you don't do them, then those are the things you regret. Those are the chances you don't take. Those are the things you don't know. You've never had that influence before. You think, oh, it can't hurt me, but hurting you is part of living. And I've gone on a real deep tangent here, but this is where I go with the principles of design, is really designing life and designing who you want to be, and understanding that you have to push yourself, and that almost everything that you're doing is going to be using these principles of design: unity, balance, emphasis, scale, proportion, similarity, contrast, and all of it is based in the fact that you are here now, and that your brain is going to use comparison and contrast throughout your life, has for all of your life since before you were born, actually, and that's what guides you. And when you start to recognize how everything around you has been designed, every system, every building, every song, every grocery aisles, where a can of soup is placed in the store, has all been designed to create an influence over you. And once you understand that, you can kind of let it go and go, okay, because that's the point, that you have now reached the next step. Congratulations, you have reached the next step where you can use these principles, where you can use these tools to better your life. So that's where we are today. If you like this content, I would love it if you just write a note down below in the comments and just let me know what you think about it. I will continue this week out with some more stuff about design. Probably we're going to talk about what makes a really good logo tomorrow, which is really finite, really niche, really specific. But a lot of people seem to think that when they find a logo online for free at an icon maker, that's really what they should have for the rest of their life. And that injures me as a design person, as a branding person, as a brand person, because of all the stuff we're talking about, how much emotion, how much intent, how much thought goes into these symbols that connect us, that represent things. And that's what I'm trying. I just want to teach you guys a little bit about that, because this is a passion of mine, and I feel like if you understand a little bit more about what makes your brand so special, and your ideas so special, and your life incredibly special, then you will actually take a little bit more care of it and see that investing in yourself, investing in your future, investing in that stuff is freaking miraculous, and it makes a difference, a huge difference. And if you want to make this difference in your life, in your brand, in what you're doing, I help coaches, I help consultants, I help alternative medicine providers, and pretty much anybody that's coming to me right now, I'm just at least talking to them. I'm getting a lot of great feedback online, just asking questions. A lot of people are asking why design this week. And it's because I think that this is a foundation of understanding that is different than people have been exposed to. There's a lot of people that are exposed to just rote doing something through grade school or high school or even college. They only learn how to take orders and to turn around and move forward without putting some thought into it. So I use design thinking. I think of the end result. I try to apply all of these elements, all of these principles. I try to apply Gestalt, psychology and marketing influence to all these different packages to help you build your brand, personal brand, business brand, a product brand, service, ideas. The reason I love the word brand is because it can apply to anything that's trying to create an influence in the world is a brand. Something that creates an emotional appeal in another person becomes a brand. So I view you as a brand. Everything you do creates the brand, the sensation, the emotion for everybody around you. And I recognize that you struggle. I struggle. We all struggle. And that's why a guy like me is around, who can help by helping you look at your life from a different perspective, and look at your business from a different perspective, from an outside perspective, and look at everything you're trying to achieve and your goals and your customers and just the whole package of it. And when I do this, I call it manifest design. And if you haven't heard this before, Manifest Design is my 8-session program, starting with vision, moving on to customer avatar, moving on to brand attributes, moving on to priorities, a unique selling position, competitive analysis, and concluding with a rapid transformation therapy, which is called RTT, hypnotherapy, to really get to root causes of blocks of emotional difficulty to help you really gain the confidence to start taking those steps that are scary. The brain makes them scary. So, RTT is a process to help you feel good about yourself, feel good about the world, realize that you are an incredible person with amazing talents who can go so far in the world once you realize and really own that you are worthy. And I know that you are worthy, and I know that you can create a huge impact in the world, and I know that your brand is worthy of everything and the future that you want to go, wherever you want to go with it. So if you're interested in talking to me about the program, just comment with Manifest Design down in the comments, and I'd love to see if we're a good fit to work together. Yeah. Wow, I'm a little talked out right now. It's kind of crazy. I guess I need to get a better microphone because my throat just keeps going dry on all these sessions. So tomorrow we will talk about logos. Super fun. I'm really excited about that. Again, if you have any questions about any of the stuff I'm talking about, if you want to hear about certain topics, if you want to just kind of figure out more of what I'm about, then comment down below, send me a private message, and by all means, share these videos out. Like, subscribe, share it out for anybody that you think can get something out of this, because I've been studying this stuff for a long time, and I think that the idea of brand, personal brand, business brand, branding, really honing on in your uniqueness and the influence you have in the world and crafting that influence with intention and personality is a huge change for anybody doing it. It changes your life. It changes your perspective. And when you add hypnotherapy into this, it is amazing how much we can boost confidence just moving through difficulties for all the anxiety and all the stress. And I know we're all suffering from higher anxiety and higher stress during the pandemic. I hate to say, it's up to us individually to kind of ease that, because we're not moving forward fast in that instance. So it's up to us. And I'm a gatekeeper here to help you move forward. And I would love to facilitate that transition for you. So thank you so much. Take care. And I will see you next time. Bye.